And there's... Okay, that was creepier music than I was expecting. Oh, what the heck? How's it going, YouTube Lords? This is the Eagle Builder and welcome back to an episode of Video Game. For today, I am here for a little bit more of Bendy and the Dark Revival. I know, last episode was the finale, and it still is. That is when I finished the campaign. But there are two secret endings, and also a brand new update which added the archives to the game, and that is what I'm here to check out. I'm going to start by unlocking both of the secret endings. I've been doing a replay of the game to make sure that I can get both of them right off the bat. And then I'm going to go ahead and check out the archives and see what lore bits and development details that has in store and what that has to reveal to us. And then at the end, I'm going to talk about the lore a bit, because I took way too much at face value when I first played this game, and I've had some time to think about it, and I've been starting actually to read the novels. I started reading Dreams Come to Life recently. Really enjoyed it so far. And I want to talk about that and how I think this is tying up loose ends of the past and setting up the future of the franchise. So, first off, let's go ahead and jump into the game so that I can check out the first of our two secret endings. So I am here at the end of the game, right before you cross the point of no return and talk to Wilson and trigger the final boss fight and all that. And as you can see, my jet pipe looks a little bit different from when I played through the game last time. That's because on this playthrough, I decided to go back and complete everything. And I mean everything. If I pull up the pause menu, you see I have maxed out my jet pipe, which is why it looks different. I have maxed out my health upgrades, stamina upgrades, and ability upgrades. I have done a lot of digging. So the third and final jet pipe upgrade actually had to do with that guy, that big ink guy that we saw in the finale. We heard his roar in my playthrough, but I never actually triggered the cutscene with him. What I had to do was backtrack all the way to the Little Devil Lounge, which when you have the fast travel ability from Heidi unlocked, it's actually not too difficult to do. And then get a heart from the kitchen in the lounge. And then I can take that and go all the way back, give him the heart, he'll move out of the way, and behind that door is where I can find some extra supplies and the schematic for the stun, which is what allows me to actually stun keepers temporarily, which I found to be incredibly helpful on my replay when I was going through that whole chapter. But now, in general, I've been doing a lot of extra stuff, because not only did I go through and collect a bunch of Illusion of Living books that are scattered throughout the studio, which is what I need in order to complete this ending of the game, I also went through and did a little couple of extra achievements, such as finding this creepy jump scare at the beginning of the game. I also went back and found things like a train that only appears when your computer's clock reads 414, or a giant crow that's also hiding in the train station for some reason. I even triggered an Easter egg that is a reference to a Legend of Zelda game that's out in the city. And I also went through when I was brought to the old studio by Joey's memory and found a bunch of secrets that were hidden in there that I had to use my flow ability to get that I totally missed on my first playthrough, including one of the secret memories, an audio log, which is Wally Frank's original audio log from Chapter 1, and then also a cool Easter egg with Audrey finding Henry's desk.
Hey, here's an old desk. I bet someone wasted a lot of time in this chair.
So I had a lot of fun replaying this game, but it is time to get the final Illusion of Living book, which is in one of these lockers. Not that one. There it is right there. There are... I remember, I started noticing these at the end of the game, but they were there throughout the entire thing. That was the last one, and now what I need to do is actually go back. I love the color of this area. It's always so cool. And seriously though, look at how slowly that stamina bar is draining. This stamina upgrade is actually amazing. But I'm going to go all the way, well, not all the way, but I'm going to go all the way through this tunnel, and then I need to go up these stairs just a bit to right here, where there's this chair facing these tubes of colored ink. And now that I have all the books, all I need to do is sit down. And there's... Okay, that was creepier music than I was expecting. Oh, what the heck? Wait, what the heck? I can control... She's got ragdoll physics? What the heck is this ending? And then the credits just play over this. What the heck? Okay, well, this is clearly not the canon ending, because, you know, the main ending is the canon ending. But is this, like, to imply that, like, in one version of this story, Audrey imagined this whole thing and she's just insane? I can move her around with the mouse, and I can move her around with the WASD? What the heck? This is a lot weirder than I was expecting. But, okay, so this is one ending of the game. I believe this is called the insane ending, and, I can see why. It's implied that Audrey imagined this whole thing. It is absolutely crazy. What the heck? Oh, gosh, as if they couldn't make you feel any worse for Audrey. Poor girl's been through enough. And it's literally just the regular credits and everything. This is so weird. Literally just ragdoll Audrey in this padded room. Okay, so that's one ending done. Yeah, I guess, again, it's called the insane ending, so this makes sense, but... What the heck? Oh, can I roll her towards me? Come on. Come on. Get closer, Audrey. Closer to the camera. I guess we can actually stay in here a bit till, like, come on. Come on. I'm trying to get her closer to the camera so I get a better look at this weird player model. Come on. Roll. Roll. Oh, there we go. There we go. Now I'm making progress now. Progress is being made. There's poor Audrey. What does it say on her straitjacket? Can I get a better look at that? Come on. Okay, this is actually really helpful. Okay, what does that say? It looks like it's 6 numbers. I don't know what the first 3 are, but the second 3 definitely look like 414. That was a weird ending. But okay, that's the first of the secret endings. Done. Now, to get the other ending, I actually need to start a brand new game here. It doesn't matter. Actually, you know what? I'm curious. If I put it on hard and I get this ending, will it give me the achievement for beating the game on hard? I don't think it will, but I figured I might as well try. I mean, if I can cheese that achievement, I might as well try. But okay, so let's skip this intro cutscene and Audrey's creepy dialogue. So this should put us right into her office. Yep, June 18th, 1973, when all this nightmare goes down. And also, I love that you can see the animation cell from Joey's house in here, where they were telling us from the beginning, this is Joey's daughter. Because why else would she have that?
There you go, little guy.
Okay, so I'm taking my hands completely off the controls for this one.
No way I'm getting through tonight without some coffee. Probably some downstairs.
Okay, now this is how to get this ending. I do nothing. This is literally the easiest ending to get in the game. All you have to do is sit here and not move. And eventually, Audrey will go back to work. Now I think this takes about 20 minutes. So I'm going to be sitting here for a while, but I'm going to like fast forward / cut to when something happens. For now, we just get to see this. Boy, old Audrey sure taking a while to decide whether she wants coffee or to go back to work right now. I think we should be about a minute or two. Kind of like keeping an eye on my recording stopwatch on OBS. I think we're getting pretty close to when this ending should trigger. I don't know if I can look around or not, so I'm not even going to touch the mouse. I don't know if it's like only not pressing E or if it's touching the mouse when it affected, so I am not touching anything. I'm just waiting for Audrey to change her mind and avoid Wilson altogether. This is an ending I have seen. I avoided seeing what the insane ending was, but this is an ending I have seen, and it's pretty funny. I like to think of it as kind of like the good ending of the game. Like, I know they have their own names, but the insane ending I feel like is almost like the bad ending. This one is kind of like a good ending, and then the main ending is the canon ending. You know, kind of like, when Five Nights at Freddy's would have different endings that you can go after. Actually, I think the Security Breach probably does too. I should get back to Security Breach at some point, but I've got too many series on the channel right now, especially for AAA games. Well, technically, it's an indie game, but it's got AAA quality now. At least I hope so. Alright, any minute now, Audrey.
Coffee's good and all, but this work's gotta get done. Focus.
And there we go. There's that ending. And then it just plays the credits like normal with Audrey's theme playing, which is a really good piece of music, by the way. So there we go. Those were the two special endings for Bendy and the Dark Revival. That part of the video is done now. I've already been recording 30 minutes just because I had to wait 20 of those minutes to just get the freaking ending, because that just takes so long. But, it didn't take long for you. I fast-forwarded through the whole thing. But, alright. So that is done. Once these credits finish playing, we're going to check out the archives and see what lore and development details that has for us. And then I'll wrap it up with talking about the lore of the game. Again, I'm putting these timestamps at the bottom at the end of every segment, so that if you could fast forward to what you want to see in this video. But that's what's coming up next once these credits are done. No matter how we end the game, you're always there, Bendy. We know it. Oh boy. Alright, so like I was saying, on to the archives. Go ahead. Menu, please. Menu. 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 Hello? Where are you, menu? Alright, I had a task manager of the game, but I saw on Steam it still triggered both achievements. So I got that. Didn't cheese the hard mode, figured. But let's go ahead and check out the archives, because I was wondering whether or not to do a video on the extra endings, because I thought it would be just... Oh, hi, Bendy. Just a lot of working on content for just a little thing. But, what the heck? Oh, that's how you get back to the menu, I guess. Whoa, okay. Why is Audrey turning like this? Welcome to the archives, Bendy. The Dark Revival is filled with numerous characters that each had a critical role to play in the progression of the game. Here in the archives, you'll learn a little bit more about them in an up-close and personal way. Feel free to explore. Alright, now first, I gotta figure out why the motion blur is suddenly on. Like, is the archives just, like, really laggy or something? Okay, the archives are a bit laggy, but I at least got rid of the motion blur. For some reason, that was turned back on after I restarted the game. But, alright. Oh, I like how they have the text appear on this one. I just wish we had music, like in the first archives. But okay, Bendy. Bendy, the iconic imp, was redesigned for Dark Revival to stand out a bit from his traditional cartoon appearance by giving him a suit of clothes. Yeah, I do notice the vest. It looks really good on you, buddy. He posed some minor challenges, specifically creating a face that sported the classic Bendy eerie smile, but still managed to be heartwarming in the right conditions. They definitely got it to work. They did a good job with the baby Bendy, as we've known him. He is a fan favorite, so his design had to be just right. During production, we originally envisioned Bendy to talk with a series of cute squeaks to contrast the dark, low voice of the Ink Demon, but this turned out to be very distracting, and the idea was scrapped pretty early on. Yeah, I like him as the silent type. I think that worked very well for the game, so I'm glad they went with that direction. But look at you, buddy. You look great. Quite a bit here to look at. let's just start with our main cast over here. So, Wilson. Oh, the cartoon version. I bet we get to see the real-life models in here, too. Wilson was a difficult character to balance. At first, the players were purposely led to believe he is a one-note character, obviously evil, with an over-the-top villain personality. Yeah, the opening kind of set him up well for that. But as story progresses, we see other sides of the character, and the player becomes muddled with who this man really is. In one draft, Wilson was written as a servant of Nathan Arch Jr., a separate character at the time, but the story made more sense when the two characters became one, eliminating a lot of needless narrative complexity. Yeah, I definitely can see that was a needed change in development. I'm glad they just made him Nathan Arch's son instead of trying to make him a servant for Nathan Arch's son. Oh, there's Audrey. Audrey is a kind-hearted rogue with courage, determination, some flaws, and a deep, dark past. To make our story work, we needed a newcomer to the cartoon studio world, and Audrey was the perfect fresh eyes. Ugh, those eyes, I wouldn't call those fresh. To help the experience the adventure. Help the experience the adventure. That looks like a typo. From day one of production, we knew that if people didn't connect with Audrey by the end of the game itself wouldn't be successful. Fortunately, it turned out to be quite memorable indeed and stands out from the other members of the cast. Yeah, I agree. I mean, large part because of her fantastic voice actress, I definitely see her as my new favorite character in this franchise. And I am glad that they did such a good job developing the character to make sure we actually cared about her. Ooh, the machine. The ink machine, designed by Thomas Connor, the Jet Corporation, stolen by Joey Drew, retrieved by Archgate, and once again reclaimed by Jet. That was the post-credit scene. The ink machine's next adventure is a mystery. Ah, yes, tease that third game, I need it. Well, hello, Bendy. The Ink Demon. As the world of Dark Revival became more complex and established, we realized the Ink Demon's design needed a complete rethink to match our new tone. Previous versions of his appearance looked absolutely silly when placed in the world alongside the other characters. No amount of creepy music or screen effects could conceal how out of place he looked. The Ink Demon needed to look different than everything else in the world and show a natural progression of the Ink Demon's evolution as Wilson held the cycle in place. Oh! So, are they implying here that this look of the demon that we have here is like it's originally at the start of the cycle he still looked like he did in the first game, but then the reason everything looks all broken down and the characters look different is they kind of evolved because the cycle's been held in place? Ooh, that's interesting. Oh, I see the end reel down. Oh, we actually get a separate thing from Beast Bendy. Returning for the climax of Dark Revival, Beast Bendy also was revisited with the mindset of making him far more powerful beast-like. Traditionally, most horror games, they tend to build to a point where the main villain becomes a final form monster as a final boss. It's practically a trope. Our idea, what if you got to play as that final form instead? And I did like that twist on it. I really did. I was looking at the end reel that gave me the Beast Bendy look. Oh, the bodies, the lost ones around him. I think they did a good job redesigning it. Both the demon, his main form, and Beast Bendy turned out really, really good. But it's interesting that they said it's because they held the cycle in place. So I guess if he shows up in the cycle again now that Audrey reset it, I'll talk about that more in the lore bit, he'd probably look more like he did in Ink Machine instead of Dark Revival. That's really interesting. Alright, I'm not quite sure what to look at yet. There's even, like, cash registers set up here and everything, and even a trash can for some reason. Oh, look, an artist rest sign. Yeah, I love the art style that they set up for search. Oh my gosh, Harold. Too much dry air, not enough fish. No, Harold. No. Oh my gosh. I feel really bad about pulling him out of the tank now. Oh my gosh. Oh, the Butcher Gang, including our ghost girl, Carly. Ooh, she frustrated the heck out of me. Alright, let's see. The Butcher Gang. Barley, Charlie, and Edgar, the three original members of the Butcher Gang, were formed from the Ink Machine, deconstructed by Alice Angel for body parts, and bound together to stay alive with sneak attacks on their prey. In Dark Revival, we meet an artificial fourth member of the gang, Carly, the Ghost Girl. Although when you begin to examine her closely, Carly appears to be only a shell with perhaps someone inside. Oh, I didn't figure that out because, she just kept throwing herself up at the screen and then disappearing. But yeah, I really like these redesigns too. They're a lot more detailed. It's a really good job. And then here's Carly. Oh yeah, that is like a mask hiding something else. Maybe they're implying that, I forgot her name, but the creator of Carly is maybe like trapped inside of this form, because Like we know Susie was trapped as Twisted Alice. That's really interesting. That's really interesting. I bet this was another case of, like they said, like how they first designed the Butcher Gang and Ink Machine. It's immediately created the monster first, and then reverse engineered the original design. I wonder if that's what happened with Carly as well. That would make sense. Oh, there's a keeper just chilling here. The keepers, Wilson's deadly guards and scientists. They aren't perfect, but the keepers will get the job done no matter the cost. They are responsible for pressing the ink demon inside a smaller form, keeping his power sealed away, until Audrey came along and unknowingly changed the situation. So I was right. I was right when I said that I was, like, it was pretty clear how I was implying it, but it's nice to see confirmation that Audrey zapping the demon with her powers accidentally is what allowed him to be free of his smaller Bendy form. Okay, good to get confirmation on that. The keepers were visually designed to reflect the dangers and evils of the ink machine itself. Faceless beings made of gears and wires with no sense of morality, ordered around like cattle, a creation living without purpose. Okay, that's actually really interesting. Like basically the living version of the ink machine itself. I didn't get that, but I kind of got a projectionist mixed with scuba diver, but I can see that too. Oh, that's really interesting. What else is over here? Oh, okay. See some good characters here. Okay, we'll get to the Little Devil Lounge side of it in a minute. Let's check these out. So here's Heidi. It is believed that Heidi has spent some time in the pit, a prison set up by Wilson and the Keepers. It is unclear why, but mostly she was able to access places she shouldn't have. The experience in the pit changed her, as it does many, reverting her into a childlike state, longing for happiness again. Interesting. I have a little bit to talk about Heidi when I talk about the lore at the end of the video. That's really interesting. Okay, Porter, love this guy. As the cycle was held in place and with the influence of the ink demon held at bay, the cartoon world was able to grow and advance, creating such characters as Porter, a lost one who came to claim a new identity as an explorer. Porter was written with the knowledge that Dark Revival would feature a far more serious tone than the first game of Bendy the Ink Machine, and his light-hearted innocence would help the player feel some warmth in this inky world of sorrow. Yeah, when you have a tone that's... Because Dark Revival has a much different tone than Ink Machine, you needed, like, the lighter moments, like Audrey saying, "You and I have very different definitions of alright," or just talking to Porter. We definitely needed those moments. Again, so far, like, the changes they talked about, I see why they made them, but I'm glad they did. I see you get... Oh, there's actually a lot of other characters in there. I was going to say Sammy got his own section, but there's actually a whole other area back there. Sammy Lawrence. The famous music composer of the studio, Sammy Lawrence originally had a slightly larger role in the story of Dark Revival, but a story already filled with so many characters, making them all play a meaningful part became a challenge. He was ultimately sidelined in favor of telling a more coherent storyline, although it was interesting to note that Sammy Lawrence appears to have mastered the flow ability in Bendy the Ink Machine long before Porter and Audrey could wield it. Oh. So you're saying that, like, every time we'd see Sammy, like, walk around a corner and disappear or anything like that, he was actually just using the flow ability. Oh, interesting. There's lore. There's lore in these archives. Good to see, Sammy. You don't look too much different from your final model from Dark Revival. I mean, from Ink Machine. Maybe a little bit more detail, but a little more worn down on the mask, but you look pretty similar. Alright, who else have we got here? Oh, you. I'll get to you in a second. Oh, no. I know what... I was about to say, what is that? I see what that is. I don't want to deal with that. Lord Amok. Ruler of a sewer cult, Lord Amok illustrates how the world of the ink had continued to develop into different societies deep within the darkest places. Though he was weak in a fight, his name will simply never die. Yeah, that is interesting. So... was Amok, like, always just, like, in the sewers and Henry never saw him during the cycle? Or was this part of, like, the society that evolved in those 211 days that the cycle stayed in place? That's something interesting to think about. Alright, now this crazy woman. Alice Angel, the self-appointed queen of the studio. Alice Angel is one of the most memorable faces in the Bendy world. Forever lost in a tide of insanity, she's an absolute delight to write for as a character. I imagine so. An angel with many layers, time will only tell if this inky temptress will ever reappear. I bet you will. If there's another game, we'll definitely see Alice again. She's too memorable and fan favorite of a character. The redesigns of these characters, I just love everything about their reworks for Dark Revival. Looks so good. Oh, gosh, you're here too. That's what that was. Oh, my. Okay. So maybe the other side will have more of our friendly characters, since these are at least like the hallway of villains or something. King Widow. Ink widows have begun to infest where the light grows darkest. Their king, the biggest and most feared, will only emerge from his nest when its young are threatened. I hated this thing. This is like the worst, like good from a good creepy design, but the worst thing to look at. Just spiders are bad enough. Like, I know it's technically not an arachnid, it doesn't have 8 legs, but it's spider-like and it's got a big human mouth. That's just no thank you. Alright, Lurker, or Steve, yeah, that's right, he's Big Steve, as he became to be known, was originally created as a brute-type enemy that would free roam the way Lost Ones do, but ultimately felt unnecessary as the random Ink Demon encounters already fulfilled the role of putting the player on edge while exploring previous traversed locations. Okay, that would make sense for like how he appeared roaring in one of in the final frames of one of the early trailers for the game. That actually makes sense, like why he was shown that way. In the end, the Lurker found a much better calling as an unlikely ally, effectively expanding him into more than just a typical enemy. Yeah, it was nice to, have a friendly guy who will still one-hit kill you if you bother him. But yeah, that's interesting that he started out as a brute enemy. Gosh, I don't even want to imagine what fighting him would have been like. Yeah, we have this little guy here, Ship Ahoy Dudley. That's our best look at this, actually. Because, we only saw it in a cutscene before, but like, Wilson, why did you think this would work? Like, maybe like he thought the colored ink he was bringing in would somehow be more powerful, but why did you think this would work against the demon? Oh, then here's the boss that ripped off poor Audrey's legs. Ship Ahoy Dudley, the demented invention of Wilson, created to serve the dual purpose of dethroning the ink demon in the cartoon world and also upstaging Joey Drew in the eyes of Wilson's father, Nathan Arch. Neither of these happened. Ship Ahoy Dudley is a mysterious sailor with his own eerie grin similar to that of Bendy, along with his sidekick Crackle the Crab, okay, so even the crab has a name. It's unknown just what kind of cartoon adventures they would have had together. I'm curious if Dudley and Crackle will come back in the future. Like, it was a creation of Wilson, but I don't really know what happened to Wilson after the game. Sure, Audrey banished him, but he wasn't part of the original cycle, so when it reset, was he put back in the real world just like Audrey was? I'll talk about that more in the lore section, but I wonder if we'll ever see this guy again. I know so he doesn't have Wilson... Wait. Oh, he doesn't have textures, but I do see Wilson's head in there. It's weird that his textures aren't showing up, but that is him in there. Oh, this is a... Yeah, I can see they gave him his own, creepy smile like Bendy does, but the way his jaw waggled when he roared just made him extra creepy in my eyes. I wish we were allowed to sprint in here, but we're not. Oh, we're moving so slow. Alright. Oh. Ooh, yeah, there's a real life section. I will visit that last, because that's fascinating. Let's look at these first. Alright. The memory version of Joey Drew. The man, the legend, the memory. Creating this version of Joey Drew was both an exciting and daunting process. It was clear from the start that this Joey would be different from the one from the original Bendy the Ink Machine. This was a man with all the guilt from a past life, but without the experience to fully understand it. The real Joey Drew made many mistakes, but ultimately learned from them. This doesn't absolve him of his sins, but at the end of his life, he was able to help correct some of them and help fight the darkness he created. Yeah, I want to talk about this a little more in the lore, but this is definitely a bit of a redemption that they gave Joey in this game. And I'm okay with that because it's clear what direction they are going forward for the villain, for the future of the series. But it was so cool. I remember playing Chapter 3 when we get to see Joey face to face for the first time. It was a wonderfully shocking moment and a big exposition dump, but so good to see him actually talking and being a part of the story. When in the other one, he was just a figure in the background that we only saw in the final cutscene. He was the one, he was the reason for everything, but we never saw him. He was a lot more involved in this, and I really did like that. Alright, next we have Betty. A faithful maid among other things to us. Okay, that among other things, that's become a meme. The fact that they bring it up here means they are aware of the implications that they made with that and how disturbing they are. Betty was an important character in the story of Dark Revival. As a failed experiment and someone relatively new to the cartoon studio, she was able to give a somewhat different point of view on the state of the world. We purposefully left it unclear if Betty was in on Wilson's plot to harvest Audrey, or if she is just a bystander, behind her mask, there are still answers to be found. Yeah, she says she didn't come out right, so her face is probably messed up in some way. In my opinion, she was a bystander because she seemed like she genuinely was excited to, like, make a dinner to serve to Wilson and Audrey and everything. I genuinely think she was just another pawn in Wilson's game. But I hope we get to see her again, because, again, the cycle reset and she was a creation of Wilson, but Audrey's book at the end of the game did show both Allison and Benny. So Benny's probably still around. Definitely want to see more of her. It's classic posters. I love to see them. Ooh, the Cycle Breakers. Alright, here we go. I'm going to talk about Henry last, that's for sure. I love the remodels. Like, this one for Allison in particular is really good. Alright, Tom. Tom is Allison's silent protector and the only Boris clone involved in the main story. Whereas Boris the Wolf, rumor has it that during the events of the game, Boris is experiencing a dark survival story of his own. Okay, that's a reference to Boris in the Dark Survival. I should probably go back and play that game. I haven't played it in so long, like since my last Twitch stream, which I don't even want to think about how long ago that was. But that's actually one secret I did find when replaying the game. If you go through the vent a second time in Chapter 4, entering the Jet headquarters, you'll actually see Boris the Wolf crawling through the vent. So that's a fun Easter egg there. And it says a dark survival story of his own, obviously referencing their little spin-off game they made. But it would be cool if they actually gave us a DLC for this game that lets you play as Boris. And maybe you get to, like, have that moment where you crawl through the vent and you see Audrey crawling through on the other side. And maybe you could experience the events of the story from a different point of view and deal with your own monsters and stuff. I think that would be a really fun DLC idea for this game if they decided to go that direction. Alright, Allison. Returning for another victory over the Ink Demon, Allison is always the voice of reason, a beacon of hope. Allison's design was carefully upgraded from the previous Bendy, the Ink Machine, to maintain her personality, but with more fidelity. The purpose of meeting Allison so early in the campaign was to introduce the player to a familiar face after the main introduction. At the start, Allison was able to serve as the motivating force for Audrey until the true plot kicked in later. Yeah, I was surprised to see her so early in the game, but I guess that, again, that is the whole thing of, here's a familiar face, giving you direction of where to go. You're not alone down here. Go ahead and figure out what's going on. Because it's a very different story from Henry's, where he was alone for most of it. Audrey has other people around her right from the start. But yeah, they did a good job with this upgrade. Her face looks a lot better, for one. And it looks like the sword was slightly redesigned too. Kind of wish she was holding the Tommy gun there. That'd be kind of nice. Alright, then we have poor old Henry Stein. The original Cycle Breaker, Henry Stein, is the ghost of a man who lost his purpose years ago. Okay, that's confirming some stuff right there. Once fueled with finding a way to escape the tortures of the Ink Demon and finding his way home to his wife, Linda, I believe her name was, Henry is now left with the cold reality of being a recreation of the person he thought he was. Saved as a special surprise for fans of Bendy the Ink Machine, Henry was strictly omitted from all public discussion of the character during the entire production, which spanned several years, but Henry returned with a very satisfying face reveal. Yeah, they did a really good job, because we had no idea what Henry looked like. He didn't have a model in the first game. Seeing him in Chapter 4 Dark Revival, this is exactly what I would imagine Henry would look like. Like, I didn't have a clear picture in my head, but once I saw him, it wasn't, oh, I guess that's what he looks like. It was, yeah, that's Henry. It makes sense. Shows him weary and tired, a bit broken down, but yeah, the ghost of a man who lost his purpose years ago. Notice that it doesn't say memory, like Joey's did. This is actually Henry. This is confirming that this is actually him here in the cycle. Alright, I'll talk about that more in just a minute in the lore part of my video. Okay, one more section to check out, it looks like, and that is our real world section here. Oh, we get our best look at the model for Audrey in the real world. We only got a little bit of a look at it before. Yeah, there's that Illusion of Living book. Audrey's donut? No, you can't have it, Audrey. Oh, come on, I want the donut. That's actually, the freaking donut got its own lore blurb, are you kidding me? Oh, Nathan Arch Sr. Wait, they actually called him Senior, so is Wilson's real name Nathan Arch Jr.? Because they said they merged the characters, but I just assumed that they meant that from a storytelling point of view, they merged the characters. I guess maybe Wilson isn't his real name, and that's just the name he took as the janitor. Interesting. So I guess his real name is Nathan Arch Jr. Nathan Arch was everything Joey Drew wasn't. He worked hard, built up from nothing, and never compromised his integrity. Joey had big dreams, but Nathan accomplished his own dreams. He and his wife Tessa raised a son with as much love and care as they could, despite Nathan's career pressures. Sadly, his son did not share Nathan's natural talent for business and enterprise. Yeah, instead he had a god complex and tried to chop up poor Audrey. It's interesting that they have Nathan Arch be, the polar opposite of Joey as a contrast. But then he also kind of feels similar to the memory Joey we meet later, which is an interesting choice. Alright, I'll talk about Audrey last, because I want to look at our villain boy here. Wilson. Haunted by the impossible shadow of Nathan Arch, Wilson sought to achieve something that would make his father proud. By luck, he stumbled upon the ink machine and was able to become the cartoon world's new master. Holding the cycle in place, he continued his experiments that could not fully be realized until the ink demon was purged. However, unnaturally entering to and from the ink realm was begun to take a toll on Wilson's physical health, physical being slowly robbing him of his health. Okay, so that's why he's like wheezing and coughing, and probably is why his eye is messed up, is because he would go back and forth between the two worlds, and it was putting a toll on him. Interesting. You wonder if that was happening to Joey at some point. Because, obviously he was much older than Wilson, but when we saw him at the end of Ink Machine, he was weary and in failing health, and, he seemed happy the last time that Nathan Arch spoke to him on the phone. So maybe, eventually, in him passing back and forth between the two worlds, he degraded his own health too rapidly, and that's how he died. That would actually be interesting. Alright, then finally, we've got Audrey. The unknowing daughter of an animation pioneer, Audrey has blocked out the memory of her past after losing her father, but his role in her life was not over. A talented animator and artist, her skills landed her a job at Archgate. Was it fate that led her to reunite with Joey Drew's machine, the machine of her birth, or was it planned? Ooh, was it planned? So are they implying that one of the two Nathan Arches, because, they're senior and junior, was it Wilson that manipulated it behind the scenes, or did Nathan Arch Sr. know who she was and hired her because of that? Interesting. Okay. But that is everything we've got in the archives. I'm going to go ahead back out here. And I think I'm probably going to go back to the menu just so that I can get that music going again. But this was the archives. I really, again, I wish there's a little bit of music so it's not so just silent in here. But I really enjoyed the information blurbs that we had about all the characters, how they're separate entries for the cycle versions of Wilson and Audrey and the real-life versions, and the little development details. I always enjoy behind-the-scenes stuff, so that was really nice to see, and definitely a nice little tease over there about the Ink Machine's future. Alright, so let's go ahead, back out to the main menu, and we'll talk about the lore, because there's a lot to unpack here. Alright, so when I finished Dark Revival, I had this whole... I talked about how, so it was just ink copies the whole time, and blah, 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 blah. That whole section in Chapter 4, I should have seen the red flags. It's kind of obvious looking back, where we get a little projector slideshow of the lore from Joey Drew. Again, that was his memory, but why did I trust anything from Joey up to this point? So I think he was telling half-truths and half-lies there. So, clearly not, he said his own version of Henry, but I think that's more like Henry forgetting who he really was and becoming something else entirely, because that blurb in the archives about him pretty much confirms that the Henry we know and love in the game is the ghost of the real Henry Stein. So Joey, whether he killed him or whether he just put his soul in the machine after Henry died, I don't know. But Henry is dead, and his soul lives on in the ink machine in the cycle. So that's the confirmation right there. So Joey was lying to Audrey. Well, Joey's memory was lying to Audrey when he said that it was just another version. Again, half lie, like I said. But this game, in general, really is about ending Joey Drew's story. Like, that's what the point of this is taking, Joey Drew is our overarching villain. We needed to wrap up his story, and the best way to do that was, because, we already saw him as an old man, was to let him die, let him rest, and then have his daughter try to fix his legacy in some way. Because I do believe, like it talk there, it does seem that Joey did truly regret what he did later in his life. Now, like it also says, that doesn't excuse the awful things that he did. Again, like I'm reading, like I said, I'm reading Dreams Come to Life, the novel, and oh my gosh, I'm only halfway through the book and already Joey's doing some questionable things. But I also feel that Joey, letting his ego get the best of him, was partially or somewhat manipulated by the the current and from now on going forward villains of the story, and that is the Jet Corporation. They are the ones who made the ink machine. They are the ones who wanted to continue their experiments and just bleed money off of Joey Drew to keep it going. But I'm talking about this and what Jet did. I'm not excusing Joey in any way. I have to make that clear. This is still what Jet is doing. But Jet's still affecting him, even though he also made his own crap decisions. But this game makes it clear that Joey Drew is no longer the villain of this story. Everything he's done, there's been some atonement for it at this point, and they are moving on. Now, from here on out, wherever the third game plans to go, which please make a third game. Please. I will definitely play it. Wherever the third game goes, that is going to be the Jet Corporation as the villain. Now, I think that Mr. Gray, Alan Gray, is the name that kept being brought up as the main guy at Jet these days. So he's probably going to be our antagonistic main villain going forward. But Jet Corporation as a whole is the villain of this franchise now. They are the ones who have reclaimed the ink machine and all the items needed for the ritual to activate it from Archgate. So Audrey, being in charge of her father's cartoon world, is probably going to have to track that down and figure out where it is and try to save her friends from whatever Jet is planning to do. Because clearly, Audrey and Bendy being in the real world shows that it is 100% possible to bring something to life from the machine into the real world. And that's probably going to be part of Jet's end goal, which is why, like I said in my finale video, I feel like a third game would take us into the real world for at least some of the game, and we'd have to deal with the horrors in the real world, that would be really creepy. That whole opening section in this game, in the real world, is wonderfully done. If we get more stuff like that in the third game, sign me up. But speaking of Bendy, the thing I want to know is what I feel like the reason Bendy was brought into the real world with the cycle reset is because he and Audrey had merged when the cycle reset. So when Audrey got pulled back into the real world, Bendy came with her. So that really makes me think, was it just good Bendy she brought with her? Or is the demon still in there? And if so, holy crap, the demon's in the real world. That's going to be bad if he transforms. He's going to go on a slaughter. But ay. So, like I said, Henry is still in the machine. I still think that Allison and Tom are not the actual Allison and Tom, like Thomas Connor and Allison Pendle, or I guess Allison Connor now because they got married. I still think that those are just that Joey was telling the truth when he said that those were just creations of them, because in the first game you can look through and there's 5 coffins hidden that have names on them. Like Susie has a coffin, of course, because she's in the machine. You've got Bertram Piedmont and Norman Polk, the projectionist. But there was no coffin for Thomas, and there was no coffin for Allison. So, just like there's no coffin for Wally Franks, and we have letters for them in the first game saying that they are living happy in their lives. So I still believe that Allison and Tom are actual just ink creations. Again, the drop of water, the ocean line from the end of the first game. But Henry is definitely a real person that it trapped in the machine. Sammy is obviously a real person trapped in the machine. Susie's a real person trapped in the machine. And, you know, we know that Bertram's in there and Norman's in there. Forgot her last name, but Lacey, I believe she was working on the amusement park. She's also in there. And I'm assuming now that the creator of Carly is also in there because they talked about there being something behind the mask for the slicer. So, yeah, there were a lot of... That definitely, it was explaining a lot of the lore, but you needed to look at it with that not at face value. And that's what I did stupidly. But looking at it now, I think I have a pretty good idea of where this franchise is right now and where they are going to go going forward. I mean, I hope we get to play as Audrey again because it would be a good continuation. But maybe they want to do someone who's new to the studio or just the ink machine in general. Maybe like someone who's new working at the Jet Corporation will play as, and they discover the machine by accident and then get thrown into the horror and chaos of this whole ink machine experiment. And that would still give us a chance to see Audrey, because she would still want to track down the machine so that she can protect her father's legacy and protect her friends. But it would still give us another set of eyes to see the franchise through. Like they were talking about, they wanted a new set of eyes for this game. I'm curious if they're going to do that again for a third game, or if we'd play as Audrey again. I'd be fine either way, honestly. I'd be fine either way. But what else do I want to talk about? I feel like there's something I'm missing. Oh yeah, Wilson. Is he also in the real world now? Because he was banished, but he wasn't a part of the original cycle. Or is he like what that note we found in the sauna in Artist's Rest? Is he become a ghost of the machine without form, just kind of wandering around in the cycle? I feel like that would be a fitting fate for him after all he's done. So if we don't see Wilson again, I'm going to go with that assumption that he's now one of the ghosts in the machine. I'm going to go with that. But I think I've pretty much covered everything. Hi, Ink Demon. But this is Bendy the Dark Revival bonus episode, checking out the archives. Thank you, Archives Update, for giving me an excuse to make another video on this game. I love this game. I'm planning to maybe do a special thing with this game in October, a special bit of content. Still figuring out the details on that, so keep an eye out for that. And I, of course, will be playing another game if they come out with one, and I would hope they would make another one. It might take another 5 years, but maybe not. I would hope, because there were other issues and delays and controversies that caused a lot of that delay. But however long it takes, Bendy 3, I am there for it. This was so much fun looking at the lore and getting the other endings. Again, Boris DLC, please? I'd also be okay with that. 100%. But anyway, that's going to do it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed it. Please drop a like and a comment down below if you did. And subscribe if you haven't already. I'll see you all on the next one. Bye, guys!